The Raiders officially got to hear from their new head coach and GM, from Pete Carroll getting interrupted during his presser.
There you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
You ain't hear me yelling at you?
No, I didn't. Was that you that yelled?
Yeah, you the one that said that. You
know what yell Raiders?
Who else gonna really yell that way?
To Mark Davis addressing the media.
No, we didn't think we had Ben Johnson. We never made an offer to Ben Johnson.
Can the Raiders finally return to greatness and compete? Well, we'll find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Yo, what is up, Raider Nation? It's your boy Samoa Raider back at it again with yet another video. If this is the very first time you guys are coming across this channel and you love Raiders content, daily Raider content news, then hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon button to notify you guys when I upload more videos just like this. With that being said, let's talk about today's press conference with Pete Carroll and John Spytek. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I got hyped, but then again, you know, I always get hyped up after all these press conferences, and it feels like it's kind of crazy to me because just last year we were all hyped up about the AP press conference and Top Telesco, and then a whole year later we're doing it all over again. But one thing's for sure, Mark Davis doesn't want this to be an annual thing.
Hopefully this won't be an annual thing.
And I hope not, because I don't think that the Raider Nation will take lightly to another firing and hiring. But at the end of the day, we over here and we hoping that this team can turn around and compete. Now, one thing that I really can't say that I took away from this press conference is the fact that even at 73 years old, Pete Carroll has all the energy in the world, and you could definitely tell that age is just a number with this guy. Not only did he have that energy, but he was well spoken up there on the podium and just addressing the media. And really makes you think, you know, that everybody just hating just to hate. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. One thing that, you know, kind of grinds my gears every time we have to go through, you know, a new head coach, new GM, and doing this whole introductory press conference is when these guys start talking about the history of the Raiders and possibly turning around this franchise and returning to greatness with this team, yada, yada, yada. We heard the same damn thing over and over again. And hey, you know, I know John Spytek went out there and basically said that. And even though we have to go through this same thing over and over and over again, I don't know what it is, but something deep down inside of me feels like everything's just a little different this year. With so many options out there and so many candidates that the Raider Nation really wanted out there, you know, Ben Johnson, you know, all these other offensive coordinators that turn head coaches. The thing that I really stuck to was really getting somebody with experience here, and just having to hear Pete Carroll today and hearing his experience alongside of John Spytek and the vision that he has for this team really has me pumped up for the future of this team. And it does feel a little bit different, not only because we're getting a new head coach and a new GM, but just having all that experience. This is definitely the most experienced head coach that the Raiders have had or have hired in a very, very long time. You look at the past hirings, a lot of inexperienced people that came in, and even guys that we had nostalgia with coming in, and us just hoping things will turn around. But if there's one thing that Pete Carroll is known for, is changing the culture and putting teams together that can go out there and compete. And you can't spell compete without Pete.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Pete Carroll is 73 years old, will be 74 years old when the season does start. And that has been the main thing that people has been knocking Pete Carroll, especially with this hiring. And a lot of Raider fans that didn't like this move was just for the mere fact that he was old. But Pete Carroll did address this.
Yeah, well, first off, I'm not real proud of wearing this number 73 on my back, you know, but that's not what fires me up. But it isn't about accomplishing things to say you were worthy. You know, it's what you gotta do next that counts. You know, what's the next thing up? I laid low during this football season, and I'm teaching a class at USC that's been a thrill. I've not been one step away from what we're doing and at any time and what we're up against here. I'm just so grateful that have been given the opportunity to do this again. I'm not worried about that or concerned about that at all. I mentioned something about, you know, wearing your number on your back. You know, I wear this big 73. Man, I'm a skilled athlete, man. I don't wear 70s. You know, it doesn't feel right. I'm just going to do it the way I know how to do it and kick ass in every aspect of it if we're fortunate.
And man, he couldn't have said it any better. Just from seeing him today, even with the little worries that I did have about his age, just seeing him talk today and the way he addressed the media and the way that he just carried himself throughout the whole press conference really had me more confident in him being the head coach, leading this team throughout the season and turning this whole thing around. But, you know, one thing I do like seeing was just John Spytek and Pete Carroll just kind of, you know, going back and forth with a little bit of humor. I mean, John Spytek kind of talked about, you know, his old high school coach, talking about his age, and looked at Pete Carroll, and, you know, Pete Carroll had to call him out real quick.
He's like 75 years old. He can't give it up and win state championships all the time. So, Coach, I hope you're out there watching somewhere. I love you. Thanks for
Why are you looking at me?
just the guy that loves football, just like you.
Not only were the media in the building, but we got to see our star player Max Crosby in the building as well. He was there just having to listen to what Pete Carroll and John Spytek had to say about the future of the Raiders. So it was good to see that Max was there, and not only just him. Marshawn Lynch was in the building as well, and when I was doing my live stream, I didn't even know Marshawn was there. But it's also good to see that Marshawn, who did play under Pete Carroll, was in the building, and he had a little bit of fun while he was there as well.
From out of town. There you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
And, I just really love the fact that Pete Carroll still has a little bit of humor to himself and not really taking a lot of things seriously, but just having a little bit of fun with it. You know what I mean? And, you see Pete Carroll and Max Crosby finally meeting up after the whole press conference, getting to talk to each other, and even John Spytek talking to Max Crosby as well. And I know for a fact, if there's anybody in the building that would love to go out there and compete and put 100% or even 150% on the field, it's Max Crosby. Now, I know with Marshawn yelling the whole Raiders during the thing, it really caught a lot of people off guard, but it was a funny moment that's been going viral all over social media. But I want to talk about what Pete Carroll was trying to say before he was rudely interrupted. He talked about, really trying to bring a competitive team here. Not only that, but also bringing in our people in the stadium and filling it up with the Raider Nation and not the opposing fans.
About wherever our fans come from, we do want to fill our stadium up with our guys. I know that we have a good draw for people from out of town.
And this has definitely been a problem for, the Raiders being here in Las Vegas. And I know that's why a lot of people from Oakland and elsewhere always calls this, the home for everybody else, because we don't really have a lot of home field advantage. And most of that in due part, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, y'all, is because the Raiders have not been winning. When the Raiders do start winning, the Raider Nation will show up. As bad as that sounds, it's the truth. And Vegas being a vacation destination, it's always going to be true. So I'm just hoping that if this team can start winning games, we can start blacking out the stadium and getting this to where we know this team can be, and bringing that culture over here and turning this whole thing around. Now, since I'm talking about the team and its future, Pete Carroll stated in the press conference that basically there is no time for rebuild. He wants to go out there and win right now. And he even acknowledged Max Crosby in the building and let him know that we're basically going to turn this thing around right now and try to compete right away.
You're all wondering about timelines and all that. It took us a few years to get to the very top of the last couple programs I was with. We're starting right now, going for it immediately. We don't have some timeline. We got to make it 5 or 6 years down the road. That's not what we're thinking. We're going to start right now to go after it and build this team as quickly as we can. As John saw Max back there, Max, send a message, man. We're coming after you. We're going to come find you guys and get this thing rolling as soon as possible with the highest of expectations, with a mentality that will drive high performance in a way that hopefully everybody's going to hear us and they're going to know us. And so I'm really proud to take on that challenge.
I know for a fact, though, Max Crosby was really happy to hear this, because Max has been vocal recently, especially on his podcast, of how he felt about the team and just about playing in the NFL in general. He said himself that, he's not here to rebuild. He's here to win. He's also went on to say that, I don't know whatever that means, but I'm here to win now. Wherever I'm going to be there to win. So that's all that matters to me. And knowing the Raiders right now and knowing Pete Carroll and John Spytek, the timetable that they have for this team, they could definitely turn this whole thing around with this offseason. It's going to be a huge, huge offseason for the team. We got the cap space. We got the top picks in the draft. We got 4 draft picks in the first 3 rounds. We got a lot of things going for us, and we can go out and get the pieces that we need. But it all starts with this offseason and the moves that we're going to make moving forward. We definitely got a big offseason ahead of us, and everything's going to depend on what we do this offseason. Mark Davis, Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, John Spytek, all of them, all those minds, they're going to try to bring the perfect team together to go out there and compete. And we can definitely do that if we get the right pieces in here. And it all starts with, finding the right coordinators to come in, your offensive, defensive coordinators, going out in free agency, getting all the right guys over here. And not only that, just going out and finding your quarterback. Another thing that I really love hearing today was the fact that Pete Carroll stated that him and John Spytek, they're a team. Nobody's above the other person. They're going to work together as a team to move forward and get the right pieces here in place to build a culture and have a competing team for the future. And last year with AP and Tom Telesco, you could definitely tell that they were both on different tracks. And even with Mark Davis coming out and saying that they were both their own identity, one guy did not determine the other. I think really skewed the team in a different way. And you could tell that AP couldn't really do a lot of things that he wanted to do. Not giving him any excuse for, the actions that he did do, bringing people in the building and whatnot, but just saying that they were just not on the same page. Now, looking at John Spytek and Pete Carroll, I'm hoping and praying that they are on the same page, and all the moves that we do make moving forward, they both sign off on, and it's great moves for the Raiders in this team. But one thing's for sure that Pete Carroll has talked about, over and over and over again, is that this team will compete.
The culture is the players, and you'll see that, but we'll show them the way. It all starts with competition. I mean, you're either competing or you're not. And I'm going to make sure that that's really clear to these guys from the moment they get here. We're going to go out and draft a class, and there'll be a few free agents maybe we'll be able to attract, and we'll need to see those guys, and we'll need to see what they're all about. But the competition part of it is theirs to command. If there's one thing that I want them to understand, and I'll start the message right now. If you want to be on a great team, you need to be a great teammate. And so teaching what that's all about and instilling that in the makeup of our program is going to be crucial. The central theme in the program is always going to be competition, and that's where it starts.
Moving on to another subject, though, is the quarterback situation. And we know that that's a big question for the Raiders and the Raider Nation because we haven't had a stable quarterback for quite some time. So quickly, this is what they had to say about the quarterback situation and some non-negotiables.
We're gonna turn over every stone to find that leader for this team too. There's just gonna be certain requirements of the job, and it doesn't necessarily take the strongest arm or the best thrower. It's the guys that will push their teammates to a place that's uncomfortable, that will give almost anything to win. That's what the best ones do, and we're going to find one of those.
It's our mission to build this football team up around the quarterback position. It isn't the only spot. We happen to have the greatest of all time to help us and to see clearly, and we're going to lean on Tom as much as we possibly can for his insights, because nobody has the insights that he has. He's that unique. I've had pretty good success with my quarterbacks in the past. You can go all the way back to college days, and they've all turned out to be really extraordinary members of our club. It's really about making a great football team around the quarterback position. Coach Walsh taught me a long time ago that it's the hardest position in professional sports to play, and so we need to make it as easy for them as possible. And we'll go about doing that by running the football, protecting them, taking care of the ball, playing great defense, and kicking the football when we want to kick it.
And I love that, though. If there's anything about Pete Carroll in his past and looking at the players that he has brought onto his teams, he's always had guys on the team that weren't the biggest names, were the first-round draft picks, were the guys that everybody were talking about. He always had the best 11 players on the field offensively and defensively, no matter what their rank was, no matter their status, no matter where they were drafted. He always found a way to get the guys that really loved the game of football. And I feel like looking at the quarterback situation, I think that's the direction that they're going to go in. They're not going to go out and try to get the top guy. If they're able to get the top guy or the top name or the top draft pick at that position, at the quarterback position, I think that they will. But that doesn't mean that they're going to stop there. If they can go find a guy, whether it's in second round, third round, or a guy that goes under the radar and bring the best out of them, I think that would be the direction they go in. And I feel like that's the main reason why the Raiders will go out and get a veteran quarterback, a veteran leader that can help a younger quarterback for the future. And there's going to be a lot of options out there for the Raiders. We've talked about it before. You got Sam Darnold out there. You got Russell Wilson, whose name has been popping up a lot as of late. You got Justin Fields, another option for the Raiders. I don't know if they're going to want to go in that direction, but one name that nobody has been talking about that I feel like can be a strong possibility. I don't know how much I feel about this right now, or if it'll actually even work, or if it'll actually be possible. But getting a veteran quarterback that has a lot of experience, that has won before, that does have a little bit of a big ego, but is a quarterback that could get the job done, would possibly be Aaron Rodgers. Now, chill. I know you guys are gonna go crazy right now. I'm not saying that I want to really go out and get Aaron Rodgers, but he could possibly be a possible option for the Raiders. Just saying. But it does help, though, that Carroll and Spytek will get some help from the GOAT, Tom Brady, in the building. So we'll see what direction the Raiders go in. Last thing I want to talk about today is Mark Davis. He had a little bit of a scrum after the whole press conference, had a little bit of things to say about a lot of things. But there's one thing I do want to say real quick is, I do love Mark Davis. I know a lot of people are so opposed to Mark Davis. They hate him because he moved the team from Oakland to Las Vegas. They feel like he ruined the Raiders, but that's far from the truth. If you know Mark Davis, if you see him, if you actually see him talk, he wants what's best for this team. He loves this team so much. He wants to go out there and win. And he understands that his biggest weakness is a lot of things that have to do with football. And that's why he's done so much, bringing other people in to take over football operations, because he knows that that's his weakness. He knows that he needs to bring in a mind that can come in over here and at least run the team and put the team in the right positions to go out there and win. And he understands that he's been failing at that as well, but it's not because of him. It's because he's putting trust in the wrong people. And that's one of the main reasons why he brought Tom Brady on board.
Was bringing in somebody that was on the football side that I had been lacking having here at the organization. I guess it was 18 with John Gruden. He was somebody that I brought in and really expected to be that person on the football side that would bring stability to the organization. He had a 10-year contract and all that, and his head was chopped off. We were put in a really bad position as an organization. And we tried to get it right with Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. That didn't work out. Antonio Pierce was given the interim job, and I believe the job that he did as the interim coach warranted him earning the job as head coach of the Raiders. Last season didn't go as we had hoped it would. 3 teams in our division were in the playoffs. The Chiefs are in the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in a row. And we just felt that it was time for a change. The one thing I know is what I don't know, and I'm going to surround myself with people that do know those things. And I'm going to give them the opportunity to do their job. And I give them vision, goals, we talk about those things, but results are what speak.
Now, it's really interesting to hear the whole John Gruden thing, because I feel like that was a time when the Raiders were actually turning things around, and he did have a lot of patience with John Gruden. It was a 10-year deal, and it was, only 4 or 5 years in, and we were starting to compete until everything came out, and, he had no other choice but to let him go or have John Gruden step down. Now, another thing that really, really stood out was him talking about Ben Johnson and the fact that the Raiders never offered Ben Johnson a job, which is why he went to the Chicago Bears.
No, we didn't think we had Ben Johnson. We never made an offer to Ben Johnson, and he's a Chicago Bear.
Now, I don't know if that's entirely true, and I know a lot of people are getting on a lot of the reporters and beat writers, but I feel like it was a smart answer by Mark Davis. I do feel like the Raiders really wanted him, and the Raiders wanted to go out and offer him a deal, but they just never had a chance to. He just ended up going to the Bears, and I think that's where he wanted to go anyways. He didn't even give the Raiders a chance to have an in-person interview. But I think it was smart for Mark Davis to come out and say that they never did, because how would it sound if Mark Davis was to come out and talk like, we did everything that we wanted to bring in Ben Johnson, but we ended up just hiring Pete Carroll? That would sound so bad, and a lot of the media would make headlines talking shit about the Raiders and Mark Davis. So honestly, no matter what we think about this, we're not going to know the true answer at the end of the day. But, I got to give a lot of respect to Mark Davis. An interesting thing that he did talk about to end off his whole scrum was talking about Tom Telesco. He was asked about if it was really hard for him to move on from Tom Telesco.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they both did good things. I mean, Tom did a great job in the draft and everything else, but there's more to the job than that. And I'm grateful for him for what he did for us in the draft and those things. I'm grateful for what Antonio's done for this organization. I really am. And I absolutely wish them the best.
And hate it or love it, I got to respect Mark Davis for being honest here. And yes, Tom Telesco did great in the draft, and I know that was one of the key reasons why a lot of people wanted to keep him here, and as well as me. But, looking at everything else, he really didn't do that much to really help this team moving forward. I totally forgot about the whole Josh Jacobs thing, because he was the main reason why we weren't able to bring him back. But with that being said, it is what it is. The Raiders right now have a new regime in place. We have a new era. We're going to build a new culture over here in Las Vegas, and hopefully this is the right hiring for Mark Davis. I mean, he's been taking chances over and over and over again, but hearing from Pete Carroll, hearing from John Spytek, you can definitely tell that they want the best for this team, and they're going to do everything in their power to turn this whole organization around, because knowing this team, we definitely need it. But Raider Nation, what do you guys think about Pete Carroll and John Spytek and the press conference today? Are you guys more confident in this team moving forward, and do you feel like the Raiders can be competitors next season? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Until the next one, this is your boy Small Raider and your boys. Yeah.